One, two. Ready to start the live feed? Okay, good afternoon everyone. Welcome to the regulatory section of the Planning Regulatory Services Committee. It's a lovely day outside and I'm sure that we'll probably want to get this wrapped up very quickly. Enjoy the last bit of sunshine this evening. It's nice to see. Just let you know, audio recording is being used to assist in preparing the formal minutes. Therefore, anyone participating in the meeting consents to being recorded and being live streamed on YouTube. At this time I want to congratulate our Planning Committee member, Councillor Saoirse McGeown, on the birth of her baby Rosie. So very exciting times in Councillor McGeown's household, and I wish her and the baby all the best and everyone's healthy and happy. Agenda item 1, apologies, I have none at the moment. Can I see from the floor, Councillor O'Dowd?
Yes, Chair. Just one from Councillor McGeown. She wanted to pull in her apologies.
Yeah, no problem. I'll make sure that's noted. Councillor O'Dowd, and I think that's a good enough excuse to have an apology. But yeah, as I said, that's dedication, isn't it? It's dedication. Okay, agenda item 2, a declaration of interest. We can take them now, or as we go through the meeting. And agenda item 3 is report from the Head of Planning. It's one item for information's update and planning caseloads, and Roisin Hamill, who is standing in for Damien today, is going to take us through this item. Over to you, Roisin.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members. The purpose of this report is to update members in relation to current planning caseloads. As set out in detail in the report, the Department issued 87 planning decisions in March, and a total of 115 valid applications were received in the same period, and this brings the overall caseloads to 762 applications. There were 3 call-in requests received during the same period, and the report also provides an enforcement update for Q4 of the business year, and as set out, the current number of live enforcement cases sits at 429. Thank you, members, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Roisin. Members, any questions in relation to that item? No, I think we can move on then. Agenda item 4 is report from Head of Building Control. We have 3 items for decision. 4.1, a street naming report for Ballyoran Close, and Tom Lavery, Head of Building Control, is going to take us through this one.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members. Item 4.1 is a request for the naming of a housing development consisting of 3 dwellings at a site off the Dungannon Road in Portadown, and details are in Appendix 1. The applicant's preferred name for the development is Ballyoran Close, and the main reason for the applicant's choice is due to its proximity to Ballyoran Hill. The recommendation therefore for members is for the approval of the name Ballyoran Close for this housing development. Thank you, Chair. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Councillor Duffy.
Oh, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Chair. Just happy to propose.
And Councillor O'Dowd.
Yes, Chair. I'm happy to second.
Okay. Members, proposed by Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor O'Dowd. Are we all in agreement? I'll take that as a yes. Thank you. Agenda item 4.2 is street naming report for Birch Hall, Birches Road. Tom Lavery is also going to present this.
Thank you, Chair. Again, this is a request for naming of a housing development consisting of 34 dwellings. It's on the Birches Road in Portadown, and details are in Appendix 2. Applicant's preferred name for the development is Birch Hall, and the main reason for the preferred name is that it's in recognition of the adjacent Gospel Hall. So, officers have assessed and deemed the proposal is compliant with Council's policy, and therefore the recommendation for members is to consider approval of the name Birch Hall for this housing development. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, members, item for decision. Do we have any opposed or seconders for that item? Opposed or...
Yes, happy to propose, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, and Councillor O'Dowd.
Yes, Chair. I'm happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy and Councillor O'Dowd. Members, are we all in agreement? Yep. Okay, and the final decision item is street naming report for Carberry Meadow, Greenmore Road, and again over to Tom.
Thank you, Chair. Again, this is for the request for the name of a housing development consisting of 13 dwellings at the site on Greenmore Road, Cady in Armagh, and details in Appendix 3. Applicant's preferred name for the development is Carey Meadow, after the son of a former local chieftain. Officers have consulted with our historian, who's indicated that the only suitable name from the three noted in the report was Carberry Meadow. However, Carberry is spelled C-A-I-R-B-R-E. However, there are two other developments close by named Carberry Drive and Carberry Heights, spelled C-A-R-B-R-Y, and officers believe that the proposed spelling C-A-I-R-B-R-E would lead to confusion in this area. It's difficult enough to say it in this report. So officers have consulted with the applicant via their agent, and they have confirmed that they're happy to agree with the proposed spelling as C-A-R-B-R-Y Meadow, which corresponds with the other two developments. So therefore the recommendation is for the approval of the name Carberry Meadow for this housing development. Happy to take any reports or any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Councillor O'Dowd.
Yes, Chair, I'm happy to propose that.
Okay. And Councillor Duffy.
I'll second that, Chair.
Okay, members, we have proposed by Councillor Dowd, seconded by Councillor Duffy. Is everyone in agreement? Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, members. We have two items for information. Agenda item 4.4, stage 2, we have a number of dual language street naming request applications, and Tom Lavery will take us through these reports.
Thank you, Chair. Members will note from the report that back in June 2024, the Council received applications for dual language street signs in respect of 3 streets in the borough, and those references are 0624, 06, 07 and 08. In accordance with the Council's adopted street naming numbering policy, the application process comprised of 2 stages as outlined in the body of the report. As reported to the committee on the 6th of November, these 3 applications were progressed to stage 2 of the application. At stage 2, officers have undertaken a postal service to canvass the views of all relevant occupiers on the relevant streets. And following verification of the survey responses, I can confirm that the responses were as noted in the body of the report. Members will note that for all 3 applications, the requisite threshold under the policy has not been met, i.e. the responses in agreement with the application represent less than 2/3 of all occupiers of premises for the streets in which the application has been made. Therefore, all 3 of these applications have not met the criteria as set out in the Council policy, where they will be considered for decision by Council. The applicant will be notified accordingly. Thank you, Chair. This report is for information, but I'm happy to take any questions members may have.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Members, do we have any questions in relation to this item? I have no lights indicating they want to speak. Members, just for your information, Councillor Mullen is online, just to let you know. Agenda item 4.5 is a monthly report on building control and property certificate work. And again, over to Tom.
Thank you again, Chair. This is to keep members informed of some of the workload undertaken by the Department during the last 12 months, for the last financial year. Again, as noted in Appendix 4, in the last 12 months we have received 2,993 building regulation applications with a notional construction investment value of just over 209.5 million. We've also carried out just over 15,600 site inspections and have undertaken 1,881 plan assessments and issued a total of 2,559 statutory notices. The Department has also continued to deliver the Council property certificate function for the conveyance of properties across the borough. The last 12 months we received and administered 3,702 new applications and issued 3,753 certificates to solicitors and agents relating to property sales. Members will also note in the report that the Department is also dealing with a high number of dangerous structures incidents since the 1st of April 24, and these vary in severity from loose slates and broken glass to the extreme of partial building collapses, resulting often in road closures for public safety reasons. In total, there have been 47 incidents, and there are currently several ongoing live cases. Again, Chair, this is for members' information, but I'm happy to take any questions members may have.
Thank you, Tom, for the report. Members, any questions in relation to that agenda item? No? Okay. Members, moving on to agenda item 5, it's correspondence. We'll note them as read. If you have any questions, in relation to that. Roisin is able to answer, so I've no lights on, so we'll move on. Agenda item 6 is a confidential report. During this confidential period, we will also be considering an item of AOB from Councillor O'Dowd in relation to William Street, Lurgan, as contains confidential information. Members, can I seek a proposer and a seconder to move the meeting into committee? Proposed by Councillor O'Dowd, seconded by Councillor Duffy. Members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into a confidential session of the Council. This means that we will be turning off the public feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask ICT officers to please turn off the live feed and confirm with me when the confidential section of the meeting can proceed? Thank you. Up and live. Thumbs up. Good to go. Okay, good afternoon everyone and welcome to the planning section meeting of the Planning and Regulatory Services Committee. Audio recording is being used to assist in preparing the formal minutes. Therefore, anyone participating in the meeting consents to it being recorded and being live streamed on YouTube. Also, during the course of this section of the meeting, questions may be asked by councillors who are members of the Planning and Regulatory Services Committee of planning officers, applicants for planning permission, objectors or those speaking on their behalf. In doing so, councillors endeavour to ascertain the information which they feel is necessary to enable them to determine the application. However, members of the public should note that the councillors will not reach a conclusion as to whether an application should be approved, refused or deferred until the debate on the application has concluded. Okay, members, we have 11 items for decision and we're going to go to Appendix 1's application number LA 08 2024 1104F, Baconnell Properties Limited, and it is scheduled for approval. I note that an addendum report has been circulated prior to this meeting, and I just have two lights on, so we'll just take them as they come out. Councillor Savage.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm going to declare an interest in this one because I note in the report that they're going to seek funding of the Housing Association, and I work in the Department for Communities Housing Investment branch, so I'll just sit this one out, Chair, alright? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Savage. And Councillor O'Dowd.
Thank you, Chair. I want to declare an interest, but I sit on the Housing Council representing ABC Council, but I'm happy to take part with an open mind because I have nothing to do with funding.
Thank you, Councillor Dowd, and we'll note that. Glad to have Michael Graham from Tetra Tech Consulting and Jeffrey Sargent from McCrainer Company Architects. They'll both be making representation in support of the application, so you're very welcome here with us this afternoon. And we also have Val Russell from DFI Roads, who is here for clarification purposes as well. So I'm going to hand over to Sinead McAvoy, the Planning Manager, to present a report and PowerPoint presentation. So Sinead, if you just want to indicate for me. Can't see it.
Thank you, Chair. The application is for the erection of an affordable housing development of 35 dwellings, 8 semi-detached, 24 townhouses, 2 bungalows and 1 detached. The provision of associated public open space. Infrastructure will include a pumping station, landscaping with access from Kiln Lane and all associated site works. And the reason it's before the Planning and Regulatory Service Committee this evening is because it's an application which has attracted objections from 4 or more separate postal addresses, citing material planning issues, and is recommended for approval. It's an application which represents a substantial departure from the Craigavon area plan and is recommended for approval, and it's an application which requires the completion of a legal agreement. Officers have taken that members have read the report, including the addendum in full, and as such this will be a synopsis only. The application site lies within the development limit on land that falls within zoning I5 and is zoned for light industry and warehousing. A residential development is proposed which is contrary to this zoning. As such, the proposed development is contrary to the Craigavon area plan. However, as set out in detail within the report, there is an extant approval for a scheme which is also contrary to the LDP, and as such the light industrial and warehousing zoning is already lost at this portion of the site. The current application will help meet an urgent need for social housing in North Lurgan as per Northern Ireland Housing Executive comments. The funding for this proposal will be finalised with Alpha Housing Northern Ireland, Northern Ireland Housing Executive and the Department for Communities should planning permission be approved, which makes the scheme viable and deliverable and is expected to take place subject to planning permission being granted and any pre-commencement conditions discharged over the next 18 to 24 months. Officers are aware that there is land zoned for housing elsewhere in North Lurgan, but its availability for social housing is not guaranteed within the time frame required for this proposed development. Overall, this proposed development will not prejudice the overall zoning or lands adjoining it. The release of this part of zoning is an opportunity to provide an affordable housing development which will meet an identified social housing need in this part of North Lurgan. Whilst the proposed development is contrary to the Craigavon area plan and regional planning policy, there are material considerations in this instance in which officers are of the opinion outweigh the policy failure and should be given a determined weight in the determination of the principle of affordable housing on this site. As regards the design, layout and amenity, these have all been fully considered within the report, and officers are content this will provide for a quality and sustainable residential development and will not have any unacceptable impact on residential amenity. As regards to traffic, access and parking, these have all been fully appraised by DFI Roads, who have offered no objections. As regards to flooding and drainage, the northern portion of this site lies within the floodplain. However, all aspects of the proposed development, with the exception of a small area of open space, are located beyond the 1 in 100 year floodplain, and as such the proposed development complies with policy FLD1 of PPS 15. Officers can confirm that there is a 5 metre working strip to facilitate future access to the Pound River, and the drainage system has been designed to an adoptable standard. This application has been accompanied by a planning, supporting and design concept statement, a flood risk and drainage assessment, a preliminary risk assessment, a transport assessment form, an odour and air quality impact assessment, a preliminary ecological appraisal, a noise impact assessment, and an outline construction environmental management plan. These have all been fully appraised by officers in consultation with the relevant competent authorities, who have offered no objections. The proposal is sought for an affordable housing development, and officers are of the opinion that a Section 76 legal agreement is required. The Section 76 legal agreement will secure that the developer will implement the development for the site for the purpose of providing affordable housing development and for no other purposes. The third-party representations have all been fully considered by Rivers or by officers, and subject to the conditions and the Section 76 legal agreement, it is recommended the planning permission be granted. Taking it through the PowerPoint presentation, members. So there's a location of the site within the general area, so as to the northwest of Lurgan. Next slide, please. That shows the site location plan, so it's a site outlined in red, as per your site location plan there. Next slide, please. That's just an aerial view of the proposed site, so it's not developed as yet. To the northern section there is the Pound River. Next slide, please. That just shows the site in relation to the plan zoning. Next slide, please. And that's a close-up, so the area that is pinked and striped, that's the light industrial and warehousing zoning. The land to the south, which is pink, is zoned for industry. What you will see to the west is a green area. That means it's zoned for open space. The area to the northeast is brown, which is zoned housing land, and then the land to the southeast is also light industrial and warehousing, so the development of this land for housing will not prejudice the implementation of those surrounding lands. Next slide, please. That just shows proposed site layout plan, so the access has been taken off Kiln Lane, and the area to the north will be the open space area. Next slide, please. That shows proposed landscaping layout. There's a heavy-duty planting right throughout the site to soften the car parking to the south and lane to the northeast. Next slide, please. And that shows the proposed private streets determination. The road along Kiln Lane will be widened to 6 metres wide, and then a footpath then on the inside to accommodate pedestrian movement. Next slide, please. That just shows the proposed house type. So you can see there to the south, any development that's facing a road has a dual frontage as per the Creighton Places. Next slide, please. That just shows further house types. Next slide, please. Further house types. Next slide, please. And that just shows your bungalow, which is designed for disabled applicants. Next slide, please. So that just shows the site sections within the site. So you can see, I suppose, the most southern one. That would be the housing development, and then the Pound River, which is along the northern, and then to the east of that would be Baconnell Court with the existing properties, which sit at a slightly higher level. Next slide, please. This is just a concept in relation to the petrol filling station, which, as per report, is approved to the south, and therefore the envisaged of this particular site is the housing to the north and the petrol filling station and associated restaurants, etc., to the south. Next slide, please. So these are 3D visuals. They are for information only because the design has been slightly amended. One of the houses has actually been removed. So it's been updated from 36 to 35 dwellings, but that just gives you an overall of how the site will look. Next slide, please. And that's also visuals showing the site from Kiln Lane into the new access. So you can see there to the east that there's a dual frontage dwelling as well. Next slide, please. So that's the photo one's a view of the site entrance from Kiln Lane, which will be used, but that road will actually be widened to 6 metres wide, and then the footpath in behind that. In the far distance, you can see McConnell Properties development, which has already been done, and it's there at a higher level. Next slide, please. That just shows further up Kiln Lane, and that their road will be widened to the whole extent of the site to 6 metres, and then the footpath in behind it. Next slide, please. That just shows another photo of it. You can see the Pound River at the present time is well overgrown, so that their open space management plan will actually remove all that vegetation and have that as a nice open space area. Next slide, please. That's a view from the entrance of Kiln Avenue along Kiln Road, so that there shows a site in the far end. As you can see, it's highly overgrown at the present time. Next slide, please. And that just shows a view of the site down Kiln Road, further on down. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Sinead, for the report and presentation. I'm going to hand over, is it Michael? You going to take the presentation? Okay. Just wait, you have 3 minutes, and just wait, and the timer will go up. And once you want to indicate the button in front of you there to speak, okay. And then as soon as you start talking, the clock will start, and then you've got 3 minutes from there. So you're on screen now.
Chair, members of the Planning Committee, thank you for affording us the opportunity to address you. I'm Michael Graham, Chartered Town Planner with Tetra Tech, and the agent for the application on behalf of McConnell Properties, accompanied by Jeffrey Sargent and McQueen Company Architects. Excuse me. We're very pleased that Council's Planning Department's recommended approval, and would like to thank the Council's planning officers for progressing this to a positive recommendation. The development is for 35 affordable houses. Regarding the principle of development, the site is located within the settlement development limit and in land zone for light industry and warehousing under zoning LI5 within the LDP of Craigavon Area Plan. But Section 6.4 of the Planning Act 2011 states that where regard is to be had to the LDP, the determination must be made in accordance with the plan unless material considerations indicate otherwise, as emphasised in the Case Officer's report. Council's Planning Department has undertaken a robust planning policy assessment and planning balance judgment exercise. There are material considerations which should be given determining weight in this instance that outweigh the non-compliance with the LDP zoning and PED 7 of PPS 4. The applicant has a legitimate fallback position of planning permission for an office scheme, and that has been certified by a certificate of lawfulness. Its delivery remains a possibility. The scheme will provide 35 affordable housing units, social rented, that will go part way to meeting the social rented housing need in this part of North Lurgan. The housing executive was consulted, acknowledges the need and is supportive. Funding will be finalised with Alpha Housing, the housing executive, DFC, and on approval of the planning permission, making this scheme viable and deliverable. Subject to the planning permission being granted and preconditions discharge, it will be delivered and constructed within the next 18 to 24 months. Whilst there is land zoned for housing elsewhere in North Lurgan, its availability for social rented housing is not guaranteed within the timeframe required for this proposed development. This application represents an opportunity to deliver a level of betterment at this site over the fallback position. Substantial industrial land will remain within a locality and the Craigavon Area Plan generally. It meets the key site requirements of landscaping, planting, high quality design, access and traffic impact. Third party concerns have been satisfactorily addressed and all consultees are content offering no objection, subject to conditions where relevant. We are content with the suggested conditions and entering into a Section 76 legal agreement. To conclude, is a highly sustainable approach and the quality development will result on these lands. Council's Planning Department has objectively assessed this proposal against all material considerations, including the LDP, the SPPS, relevant PPSs and the representations raised in response to consultation and publicity. It is satisfied with the proposed conditions and a Section 76 legal route that planning permission could be granted. We take this opportunity to thank the Planning Committee for the opportunity to speak, and we trust that the elected members agree that planning permission ought to be granted, and are happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Members, over to yourselves. Any questions for Michael or Jeffrey, or of course I am Sinead and planning. Councillor O'Dowd.
Thank you, Chair. I actually know this area quite well. Just a few wee questions, probably one for yourself, Sinead, and a couple for yourself, Michael. The first one is, on the plans in slide 4, the entrance is different from slide 15. Yes? No? I'm not sure. In slide 4, where you've outlined the red, it comes right down to Silverwood Road. Is that housing development being in part of that?
Are you happy enough to come in? Yep.
Yeah, that there slide there is the site location plan, so it would just outline the development, and then it usually is elongated to ensure that any DFI roads improvements that would be required can be accommodated within the red line. So normally the red line of the application is bigger than actually the site layout. Now the slide you refer to as regards to 15 is actually a concept only, so that's only a concept. What you would be referring to is actually slide 7 and 9, which would be the detailed layout that if members were in agreement with our recommendation, that would actually be the plans that would be stamped approved, Councillor. 12 is simply a concept to allow for the likes of third parties not to get a visual representation of how the site would look in accordance with the extant approval to the south. So if you have regard to slide 7 and slide 9, they would probably be the key as regards to the site layout.
I'm not sure.
Councillor Dow, just bring you in.
I'm not sure who can best answer this next question. The Pound River, there's been major issues with this river, with smell and things like that. Myself and Councillor Nelson has worked with people regarding this. How is this going to impact that Pound River? Because at the minute it's actually disastrous.
Sinead, are you happy enough to take that? Yeah.
Well, first of all, you probably see from the slides, and you probably know well, Councillor, that it is quite overgrown and unkempt at the minute. This open space landscape management plan would help to actually go and remove all that vegetation and replant it out as regards to having grass and unverge it. There are strict conditions on the site to ensure that there is no contaminations as regards to into that during construction and operation. As regards to, because that actual Pound River is hydrologically linked to Loch Ness, etc. So it's very key that it doesn't be. So I suppose the developer would only have recourse over the northern portion of that site, which at the minute is unkept and not cared for, but under this landscape management plan as well, that makes sure that it at least is kept free from vegetation and example maybe what other people do, as regards to it, it's probably unkept at the minute. But the housing has also been designed to ensure an informal degree of surveillance over that there, so to ensure that be overlooked and therefore that no one can go and do any sort of trespassing or otherwise over it.
Sorry, this is the last question. It's probably towards yourself, Val. This is something that has come up numerous times with me with developments, and that's speed ramps in developments, especially with social housing, where there's young children and things like that. I don't see any. Is there any going to be put in there?
Valerie, you're not coming up. There's your card in, is it? Press light again. There we go.
Chair, committee, Councillor Wright, the design has been done in accordance with creating places. All right, so the initial for speed control measures, it's every 60 metres. So the design of this doesn't allow for speed control measures. It's actually speed controlled as it is, as it sits. The shared surface arrangement is narrowed down to 4.8. So when you're coming into that turning into that shared service arrangement, you're slowing down already. So under the guidance on the created places, 60 metres is recommended distance for speed control measures. To put them in any sooner is it negates the fact that they're coming in off a junction slowly anyway, so they shouldn't be really speeding through the site.
I know they shouldn't be, but unfortunately, in a lot of areas they are. So I'm just one of these ones, and I'm probably get told off for this. I think there should be more of them, and especially areas where there's going to be families, children, and not living. So it's just a way, that would be just the only concern that I would have there.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dowd. Members, any other questions? I've no lights indicating. Okay, members, we'll move to debate stage. Any comments or anything you'd like to add, or your thoughts? Councillor Duffy.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, as was said, it's a small step till social housing for big demand within North Lurgan, so I would be prone to lean towards it. I know we've had issues in the past with housing developments sort of encroaching up onto industry, particularly in around Ansborough and stuff, so you know, it is just to be careful, because we've had, you know, they always come out against each other when residents move in and against the noise out of the factories and stuff. But hopefully it's just one of many steps for a lot of social housing within North Lurgan. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor O'Dowd.
Thank you, Chair. Affordable housing is well needed in North Lurgan. It's well needed all over, but North Lurgan, yes, and I'm more than happy if this was put through, so it would be.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dowd. Members, no other lights indicating, so we'll move to decision. Do we have any proposals on the table in relation to this? Councillor Duffy, your light is on, but it's not coming up my screen here. Maybe, there we go now. I don't know what's happening here with this.
I'll propose the recommendation, Chair.
And Councillor Donnelly.
Thanks, Chair. I seconded proposal.
Okay. Members, proposed by Councillor Duffy and seconded by Councillor Donnelly to accept the recommendation to approve this application. Are we all in agreement? Yes, no dissenting voices. West Alderman Kennedy, you looking to come in? Okay, right. I think we're all in agreement. Alderman Kennedy was just messing about and pressing buttons when he shouldn't have been. But yep, I have no disagreements there. So proposed by Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor Donnelly. So thank you, members, and thank you very much, Michael and Jeffrey, and thank you, Val. Just give us a wee minute. We're going to be changing places, and we need to get Councillor Savage back in the room. So we'll just give a wee minute till we get on to the next one. Move along then. Slight change to our schedule. We'll go to Appendix 2 now, which is application number LA08 2018 1571F, and it's for Joe Mulgrew and it's for approval. Just to let you know that an addendum report has been circulated prior to the meeting, and I'm going to hand over to Liam McCrum, Senior Planning Officer, to present the report and PowerPoint presentation. Liam, over to yourself.
Thank you, Chair. This application seeks planning permission for the erection of 5 pairs of semi-detached dwellings and 2 detached dwellings and associated site works on lands at Wallace Parks or more. The application has been presented to the committee as it attracted 4 more objections. It's taken that members have read the report and the circulated addendum, and this is just a brief synopsis. The application site lies within the settlement limit of Dromore set out in the area plan. The site is on land zoned for housing as set out in that plan. The site is the residential curtilage of an abandoned large residential dwelling, and officers are satisfied that it does not fall within the definition of open space of public value. For the reasons set out in detail in the report, officers are of the opinion that the proposal to develop the site for residential purposes accords with the provisions of the SPPS and the area plan, with the exception of the key site requirement regarding the gross density. Policy QD1 of PPS 7 requires that new residential development demonstrate that the proposal will create a quality residential and sustainable development. The policy identifies 9 criteria which the proposals for residential development are expected to comply with. These have all been considered in detail in the report as set out by officers, and in our opinion, the proposed development is acceptable such that it complies with the SPPS QD1, PPS 7 and its addendum and all associated supplementary planning guidance. In terms of traffic, access and parking, officers in consultation with DFI Roads are satisfied that the proposed access of Moore and Grange is acceptable to serve the proposed development. The existing access that served the single residential dwelling is to be removed, and the access provided includes the provision of a 2-metre wide footpath connecting to the existing footpath network. DFI Roads have raised no objection to the proposed development, and officers are satisfied that the proposal complies with PPS 3. In terms of landscaping, existing mature vegetation is being retained and integrated into the overall development, while some boundary vegetation is being removed to facilitate the footpath and access to the site. Compensating replanting is proposed throughout. Additional native species planting is also proposed along some of the boundaries to compensate for the original storm damage that was suffered recently. Following on from consultation with DFI Rivers, officers are satisfied that the proposed development will not raise any detrimental adverse impacts upon drainage or flood risk matters. The applicant proposes to dispose of foul sewer through NI Water. NI Water, Environmental Health Department, Rivers and Water Management have all been consulted in this application and raised no objections. Officers are satisfied that sewage from the site will be suitably handled and no adverse impact on the environment. Well, members are advised that there was a number of objections in relation to this proposal. All of those matters raised have been considered in detail in the report. The addendum has been circulated, includes an additional condition with regard to safeguarding against surface water flood risk. Therefore, officers have considered the application against the area plan and all prevailing plan policies and are recommending approval subject to the conditions. If we want to take a run through the PowerPoint. Slide, please. So you can see the location of our site within the general area of Dromore. Not sure where this big yellow thing's come from, but site location plan outlined in red. This is an aerial view just of a proposed site. Here's our proposed site layout. You can see the pairs of semis and detached properties. The proposed house types. And the detached house type. The site layout plan with some of the cross sections. And again, site layout plan with the other cross sections. This is just a photo of looking at the site entrance as it is in situ at present that accesses the dwelling. This is just a view across the site frontage. The dwelling is actually hidden behind those large trees. Again, looking across the site. Again, looking back at the site towards the houses in Lynn Avenue. Again, just looking along from the site frontage across the totality of the site. And that's just a view of the site from Moore and Grange looking back towards it. And that's just a photograph of the existing property that is currently in situ and abandoned and dilapidated. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. Members, any questions in relation to this application? Okay, I have no lights on. Members, we'll move to debate. Any comments or thoughts? Councillor Savage.
Thanks very much, Chair, for letting me in, and thanks, Liam, for his report. And the reason I haven't got any questions is that the report is quite comprehensive and it rebuffs all the objections that were received. So I think all the questions were maybe answered in the report, Chair. So I'm content with the recommendation. So that would be my thoughts, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Savage. No other lights are on. Members, move to decision. It's over to you, Councillor Savage.
Chair, I'm happy to propose we accept the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Savage and Councillor O'Dowd.
Thanks, Chair. I'm happy to second.
Thank you. Okay, members, proposed by Councillor Savage, seconded by Councillor O'Dowd, that we approve this application. Are we all in agreement? Yes, I think that we'll take that as a yes then. Members, thank you very much, and thank you, Liam, for the PowerPoint presentation and the report. We will move on to Appendix 3. Move on to Appendix 3, application number LA08-2024, 0966F, and Darren McKinley is for approval. I'm just waiting to see if we have, just give me 1 wee second, members. No, I was just checking. We have a speaker on this here, and I've just been told that they're online, so we'll welcome Jonathan Todd, who is online for clarification purposes for this application. So I'm going to hand over to Nicola. Oh, sorry, I have a light from Councillor Lavery.
Thank you, Chair. Just to declare a declaration of interest in this item as a member of the Lurgan Townscape Heritage Partnership Scheme, if we got that right. And this application, I think, is in as a potential one to be funded as part of that scheme. So we'll just declare that and not take part in the decision on this item.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery. So yes, I'll hand over to Nicola Craney, Senior Planning Officer, to present the report and PowerPoint presentation. So, Nicola, over to yourself. You want to indicate for me?
Thank you, Chair. This application seeks full planning permission for the demolition of number 45 William Street facade and demolition of flanking walls against number 43 William Street, and the erection of a 3-storey terrace building fronting onto William Street to provide ground floor retail unit and 2 apartments on the upper floors within Kirtleach car parking and all associated site works. The application is being presented to committee as it was recommended for refusal by NI Water, a statutory consultee. There are no other objections and no third-party representations. The site is within Lurgan Conservation Area and it's part of the Townscape Heritage Programme. The site has previous approval for demolition consent under LA08 2024-0958 DCA, and the 3 properties adjacent and north have planning permission for residential use and tourism apartments under LA08 2022-1536. The access to the rear yard of the site was approved under that previous permission. The principle of development has been considered in detail within the report and includes an assessment of the SPPS and the Craigavon area plan and relevant policies, given that this is a mixed-use proposal. Officers have considered the principle of development, design, character and amenity, access and parking, the impact on Lurgan Conservation Area and all other material planning considerations. The proposal has been accompanied by a design and access statement, parking surveys, biodiversity checklist, ecological statement, BAT emergency surveys, acoustic reports, contamination reports and a waste management plan. And officers can confirm there's no impact on any protected species, habitat or European designated site. There are no objections raised by the other remaining consultees: Environmental Health, DFI Roads, Natural Environment Division, Historic Environment Division, Historic Buildings, Water Management Unit and the Regulation Unit of DERA. In this case, officers accept that the proposal meets the full requirements of the relevant policies with the exception of wastewater. Members will be aware that this issue was discussed last month at the Planning Committee. However, this application is under time pressure for funding. NI Water, in its consultation response, advised that a high-level assessment was indicated that there's capacity issues at the wastewater treatment works at Ballinacor, as the foul sewage network has reached capacity and the public system cannot presently serve this development proposal without a significant risk of environmental harm and public disamenity, including pollution. NI Water is recommending connections to the public sewer are curtailed. A wastewater impact assessment has been provided in support of the application. However, NI Water advises that this has not yet been completed to a satisfactory standard to overcome the constraints within the associated foul sewage network catchments. The recommendation then is to approve it subject to the conditions which are set out within the planning report. And I'll just go through the planning presentation. Thank you. You'll know this site. It's immediately next to the site, which at the minute there's a road closed in Lurgan at the top of William Street. It's not actually this site; it's the site immediately next door, but it's just towards the top end of the street. Next slide, please. This is the site then in question, an aerial view. Next slide, please. The site location plan just detailing the whole area. Next slide, please. This is site layout plan, just showing some of the details within the site and the provision for car parking and amenity. Next slide, please. These are the floor plans then of the retail space and the 2 apartments above. Next slide, please. The elevations then, which are to reinstate really an elevation on this plot because it's been in a poor condition for some time. Next slide, please. Just a site survey that was supplied. Next slide, please. Some structural information. There has been emergency notices provided on this building in the past as well. It is secure at the moment, so but this will help reinstate, as I say, the site. Next slide, please. That's the site then, just the red arrows just pointing immediately to it. That's the site with no roof, really. Next slide, please. Again, the arrows just pointing to the site. Next slide, please. This is the rear view of the site, so you can see how poor the condition is. Next slide, please. That's the 3 properties immediately adjacent, which are subject to separate planning application, but you'll just see then the site with a red arrow again pointing to the gap really within the terrace. Next slide, please. This is a view then to the rear of the site, which will take in space then for amenity and courtyard provision. Next slide, please. That's a view then of the rear. Then looking north, you can see it. You can see the shopping complex just which is immediately north of the site. You can just see its roof in the background. Next slide, please. That's a closer view then of the northern boundary. Next slide, please. And this is just a view from the further external area, just towards the external wall. I think that completes my presentation. I think members maybe do want to know about the site next door. And the site next door, there's a planning application for conservation consent to demolish the facade. We've just received it and it's been allocated to a case officer, and we'll be trying to process it as quickly as possible, but that's a separate planning application.
Okay, thank you, Nicola, for the report and presentation. And just reiterate, Jonathan Todd is available online for clarification purposes in support of the application. So I have a light on from Councillor O'Dowd to ask questions in relation to this.
Thank you, Chair. I don't even know where to start with William Street. We've already been here today. The building that's already been started to be taken down. Yes, because I think that's when they discovered the issue with the one that's being held up at the minute. So I was just wondering as to why they had started to take it down before planning was even put through. That was just the first one. I don't know where to go.
Nicola, if you want to indicate for me, please.
Thank you, Chair, through the Chair. Yes, this site actually has approval for demolition under LAO 2024-0958, so it was approved for demolition. And the reason for it, normally we wouldn't approve demolition consent in a conservation area unless there's a full application and development's going to take place at the same time, and we have a programme for what that is. But in the case where there's health and safety issues, that really trumps the problem. So they were provided with allowances to demolish here, but this permission then will help secure the site and rebuild it, which will hopefully help stabilise the buildings around there.
Thank you, Nicola. Members, any other questions? Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Chair. And Nicola, thank you for your report. Could I ask Jonathan, in terms of the condition number 2, is it something that he, as the agent, thinks is deliverable within the time frame that they need for the funding?
Yeah, just if we can get Jonathan, Todd, if you're online, you can hear us. Can you indicate to speak? Okay, Jonathan.
Yes, hopefully you can hear.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
The condition 2 would pose us a problem in so much that the timescales that are referred to in that is that no commencement of works can take place until the wastewater impact assessment is approved. Based on our experience of other negotiations elsewhere, not even in Lurgan with NI Water, that can take anywhere between 8 months and 12 months, which is not a timescale, unfortunately, that the grant scheme within Lurgan could adhere to. We've been led to believe that June is the date by which the scheme would need to be on site to be deemed eligible.
Okay, Councillor Savage, you're content with that, or you want to come back in?
Thank you, Chair. I'm content with the answer, but maybe it brings another question that what would happen if we take a condition out in terms of from this committee? I don't think we probably can, but I was just asked it anyway.
We'll see who wants to hear it. Nicola?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, that has been raised with us. Unfortunately, we're not in a position to amend the wording. NI Water have recommended that the application be refused because of capacity, and we're proposing wording which has been released in agreement with the Planning Appeals Commission. It's wording which they have used in regards to similar schemes. To actually amend the wording would mean that the development could be built out even without the agreement of NI Water, and it may not connect to the file sewer, and that would leave us with a further problem, and we don't know what the consequences in terms of the environmental consequences of what that would be.
Content, Councillor Savage, yeah. Members, any other questions? No. Okay, we'll move on to debate stage. So members, any comments, queries, thoughts? Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Chair, and I suppose this gets to the root of the problem in the wastewater system that we have, that the fact that there's going to be 2 apartments here, 1 retail unit, which is not like, it's not a 100 house scheme or anything like that there. I can't imagine there'd be more than 3 or 4 toilets, bathrooms, things like that. I can't see that, but this area of William Street's quite run down and dilapidated, so it is. So it would have been a great scheme to see, and I think it's something certainly I would support the recommendation to approve, but with this condition in place, it mightn't come ahead anyway, but that's out of our hands, Chair, so thanks very much.
you, Councillor Savage. Councillor Dowd, are you content? Yeah. Okay, members have no other lights on. We have to move to decision. We have recommended for approval, so do you have any proposals of that or contrary to that? Members, over to yourselves.
The water issue is a major concern, considering there is so many derelict buildings down William Street. I think that it's just the water concern that's annoying me at the minute. I would be happy to propose it because of the buildings, but it's the connection of the water is just worrying me. But I will propose.
Proposed by Councillor Dowd. Councillor Duffy.
Yes, Chair, I'll second the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Dowd and Councillor Duffy. Proposed and seconded. Members, are we in agreement? Okay, it's proposed to approve this application. Thank you very much. We'll just wait until we get Councillor Lavery back into the room. Just give us 1 wee second. Okay, members, we're going to now jump to Appendix 10, which is application LA 08 2023 2798F, and it's for on behalf of Andrew Corkin and Hanover Football Club, and it is for approval. So I'm going to like to welcome Neil Cornett from CDA and I, who's here to make representation in support of this application. So I'll hand over to Nicola, Senior Planning Officer, to present the report and PowerPoint presentation.
Thank you, Chair. This application seeks full planning permission for the proposed erection of a Mugga training pitch and associated site works to include 4 8-metre high floodlights and perimeter fencing. The application has been presented to committee as it's on land within council ownership. There are no third-party representations on this application. The site is within Brownstown Public Park and Sports Grounds, and it's adjacent to an existing football pitch, which is the other application being presented today. The principle of development has been considered in detail within the report and includes an assessment of the SPPS, Craigavon Area Plan and PPS 8, Open Space Sport and Outdoor Recreation. Officers have considered the design and impact on the townscape, impact on amenity, impact on nature conservation, archaeology and built heritage, traffic and parking, and flood risk and drainage. The proposal has been accompanied by a biodiversity checklist, noise management plan and a lighting survey. Officers can confirm there's no impact on any protected species habitat or a European designated site. There are no objections raised by any of the consultees, Environmental Health, DFI Roads and Natural Environment Division. And in this case, officers accept that the proposal meets the full requirements of the policy. The recommendation is to approve, and I'll just go through the PowerPoint presentation. So this site is, as I said, just within the complex of Brownstown Park. Next slide, please. It's just at the sort of northeastern end of the football pitch. Next slide, please. The site location plan then for the Mugga. Next slide, please. This shows the 3G pitch, which is the bigger pitch, but also then the Mugga then just to the east of the site. Next slide, please. This is a lighting plan which is provided then in regards to the floodlighting which is being proposed, just to show how far it will impact in terms of adjacent residents. Next slide, please. This is then a view to the site. You can see the community centre to one side, and the site then lies at the end of the football ground. Next slide, please. You can just see then the rough area, and there's a running track then just around that area, and a perimeter fence just at the edge of this area. Next slide, please. This is then the view just right at the boundary towards Redmore Avenue. The house is just immediately behind. Next slide, please. This is a view then looking down the northern boundary of the site, which has got the community centre then to one side. Next slide, please. The housing then, which is situated, there's a tennis court just immediately adjacent to the site, and then further over to the south is Dorchester Drive. Next slide, please. Then this is a view from the south looking towards the community centre across the pitch towards the western and northern boundaries of where the mug is going to be placed. Next slide, please. That completes the presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Nicola, for the report and presentation. Before I hand over to Neil, I'm going to bring in Councillor Moutry just for 1 wee second.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I didn't get in before the presentation started there. I just want to withdraw myself from both of these applications in respect of Brownstown Park. I previously submitted a letter of support in reference to these applications, so I'll sit these ones out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moutry, for that. Neil, I'm going to hand over to yourself. You to make a presentation in support of the application. You'll have 3 minutes, and the clock will start as soon as you start talking. So if you want to indicate for me. There we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and councillors. On behalf of the applicant, I would just like to present to yourselves the findings of the application during the process and draw the attention to that there was no negativity back from any of the departments, and therefore the policies, any impact, and obviously the club itself, they are looking to push forward with their club in the near future, engage with the local communities, and I think it would be a positive the positive outcome to this application would be welcomed across the community, and particularly in the football fraternity. So in my opinion, with no objections from local authorities and consultees, I would welcome the planners' outcome as a support and approval for this application. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Neil. Members, over to yourself. Any questions for either Nicola or Neil in relation to this application? Okay, no lights on at the moment. Okay, we'll move to debate. Any thoughts or views on this? Councillor Lavery.
Thank you, Chair. Although it's not my area, you obviously can see the benefit of having additional improved facilities, particularly that have lighting, which can allow evening use in the darker months when facility space for like of that and other sporting codes is extremely limited. So I'd say it is quite a positive application, Chair, and I think approval is the right recommendation in this case.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Lavery. Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Chair. And like Councillor Lavery, it's not my area, but I'd just like to commend Hanover for bringing such a ambitious application forward, you know, and it's very much based in their own community, and it's very progressive, and I think it's a step forward, so I think I'd be very supportive of this application. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Savage. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Just to echo the last two contributors there, it's not my area, but it's a very positive application right in the heart of Brownstown. I think the club is to be commended for their forward thinking and investment within the community. Thank you, Chair.
And Councillor Flaherty.
Well, it is my area. And I know it very, very well. And I've been down many, many a time. And the club really is really pushing forward. And you can see that with the ambition, as has been said by my colleagues in this application. This will make a big difference to what is a community club. So very supportive of this, Chair.
Okay, thank you, members, for your contributions there. We have to move on to decision. So can I get Councillor Flaherty?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Very supportive of this application. Thank you very much for all the work done, both from the planning side and from yourselves in the club, and happy to propose.
Okay, and the one who won the race is Councillor Lavery. So
There's no running training coming in a good use, Chair. Yeah, happy to second the recommendation for Councillor Flaherty based on previous comments. It looks like a good project there. Thank you.
okay, members, proposed by Councillor Flaherty, seconded by Councillor Lavery. I think we're all unanimously agreed on this. Yeah, so thank you very much. We'll move to Appendix 11, which is in conjunction with this one as well, which is LS 08 2023-2677F, and again it's for Hanover Football Club, and it is for approval. Again, Neil will be here to make representation or to give clarification on for purposes. I'm going to hand over to Nicola Craney again, Senior Planning Officer, to present the report and PowerPoint presentation.
Thank you, Chair. This application is for the erection of a 3G pitch, car parking area 6, number 15-metre high floodlights, ball stop nets, perimeter fencing, dugouts and associated site works. This application seeks full planning permission for the erection of a 3G pitch, car park area 6, number 15-metre high floodlights, and ball stop nets. I'm just repeating myself, sorry, I've just said that. So it's being presented to committee as it's on land within council ownership. There are 4 objections and 20 letters of support on the application. The site is within Brownstown Public Park and is in the existing grass football pitch, which is west of the Mugga. The principle of development has been considered in detail within the report and includes an assessment of the SPPS Craigavon Area Plan and PPS 8, which is open space sport and outdoor recreation. Officers have considered the principle of development, the design and impact on the townscape, impact on amenity, the impact on nature conservation, archaeology and built heritage, traffic and parking, flood risk and drainage, and the consideration then of third-party representations. The proposal has been accompanied by a biodiversity checklist, a noise management plan and a lighting survey. And officers can confirm there's no impact on protected species, habitat or European designated site. There's no objections raised by any of the consultees, Environmental Health, DFI Roads, Rivers Agency, NI Water or the Natural Environment Division. This is an existing football pitch. There are 4 objections to this proposal and 20 letters of support. So it's an existing football pitch. The proposal will provide additional parking to help alleviate any parking concerns. The lighting has been reduced from 8 to 6 floodlights, and there are timing conditions proposed. In this case, officers accept that the proposal meets the full requirements of the relevant policies, subject to the conditions set out in the report. The recommendation is to approve, and I'll go through the PowerPoint presentation. So this is immediately adjacent to the previous application. It's the main football pitch then, which is going to be transferred from a grass pitch to a 3G pitch. Next slide, please. So this is the existing pitch, and that's the area just immediately in front of it, adjacent to the entrance of Brownstown Park, which will provide parking. Next slide, please. So this is site location plan. And then this is the site layout plan, which shows the pitch and then the parking provider. Next slide, please. Then this is the lighting plan. Next slide, please. This is the view to the site from the entrance at Brownstown Park. This is then a view to the north, east and eastern boundaries. This is a view to the site from the houses on, or this is a view from the site, sorry, to the houses immediately beside it in Brownstown Park. Next slide, please. This is a view to the site, from the site to the houses at Cluna Park, which is on the northwestern boundary. Next slide, please. This is a view to the site, to the houses at Dorchester Drive, which is on the southern boundary. You can just see the tennis courts immediately beside that. Next slide, please. Again, the houses at Oakley Park and Dorchester Drive on the southern boundary. Next slide, please. It's just a view across the site. A view then from along the northern boundary where you can see the community centre immediately beside it. And then this is just the other facilities which are within this park area, just to give you an idea. I think that completes the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicola, for the presentation and report. I'm going to hand over to Neil. Do you want to make another presentation on this one? Yeah, okay. Same rules apply if you just want to indicate to speak for me.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, this is a key element of the previous application. The two go hand in hand. Again, I would welcome the outcome of the planning process, the consultees, the feedback, and obviously the positive outcome for this. Again, this is forward thinking on behalf of the club, and again, it's engaging with local communities, making the longevity of the current facilities that are currently there. So on behalf of Hanover, as the agent, I would wish them well, and hopefully in the positive outcome of this application that they'll go forward and create a good community service in the community. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Neil, for that. Members, over yourselves, any questions? Councillor Lovery.
Thank you, Chair. I suppose maybe just have a wee brief question for Neil, and it's probably due to my own lack of knowledge maybe in terms of some of the rules and associated pitches and the league Hanover in. Obviously going from a grass to synthetic, would that have any kind of negative implication in terms of them advancing up through the leagues, or is it compatible with the required standards of the whatever football league association are involved in? Just for my own knowledge. Thanks.
Sure, this would be again a key element of legislation from IFA coming through to local clubs, and it's to create a more playable pitch through inclement weather and whatever, and eliminate the grass pitch and whatever. So again, it's forward thinking.
Yeah, thank you, Neil. Councillor Lovery, content? Yeah. Councillor Duffy.
Yes, thank you, Chair. No, nothing like this. I think it's actually a great idea, fantastic for the whole community. There was never nothing Fields and Trust or anything in Brownstown Park. They wouldn't, that the park wasn't put into them way back years ago. That they'd have to approve, or I don't want this going so far and then them's trying to scupper it, you know, further down the line.
Who, Nicola, would you be best placed to answer that, or? Yeah, it's not coming up. Do you want to take your card out again and put it back in? The system's playing up something serious. There we go.
Through the chair, the ownership has been confirmed as being within the council's ownership, so that's why it's been presented to planning committee. You know, other issues which are in terms of the ownership of it are issues really for the club to work through in terms of their agreements with the council in regards to those details.
Sorry about that, members. I'll bring in Roisin just to give some clarification around this.
Thank you, Chair. Look, we're satisfied, obviously, that this application meets planning policy. It is open space, and it continues to be open space even with the redevelopment of it. It will continue to be used for open space. In terms of land ownership, it is owned by the council, and notice has been served on the council, so all legislative requirements have been complied with. So we're satisfied it can proceed.
Yeah, Councillor Duffy.
Yes, no, that's grand. Thank you, Chair. I just didn't want, the Hanover anything trying to apply for funding and then this trying to scupper them further down the line, by if there was legalities or something around that, at least it's all clear up now.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think that would be a matter for the club themselves to to discuss that through and sort that out. But it doesn't present the plan, or it doesn't stop the plan application proceeding.
Okay, thank you. Okay, members, any other questions? Okay, comments or concerns? Move to debate stage then. Councillor Duffy.
Yes, no 3G pitches are definitely the way forward. Every community wants them, every team wants them. They want their own home pitches, and it's great to see another one within the Portadown area. And we could do one off you.
Yeah, no, tend to agree with you, Councillor Duffy. But if we had weather like that today, we wouldn't need any 3G pitches, I don't think. But wishful thinking. Councillor Flaherty.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. No, I'm more than content with this very detailed report there. The one thing I was very interested in looking at was the car parking, but you seem to have, you're content enough that that's been closed off with the car parking in this surrounding area, because it does be a busy wee spot, and not a bad problem to have in ways to have a busy club, but you've outlined it very well there. It's just that would be the one thing with the disabled beds, the number of that, and you've outlined it there quite well, but just to know that you're content enough with that aspect of it, because I can see that it's not increasing numbers or anything, but it's just it gets a bit congested.
We have DFI roads here today as well, if you wanted to ask them specifically, but there are 41 car parking spaces, including disabled spaces, being provided, and at the minute it's an existing pitch. So this is really only just changing it from a pitch to a 3G pitch. The fact that we're getting additional car parking spaces to be provided along with that, I mean, we're satisfied that it meets the parking standards and will help alleviate some of the parking, because I do appreciate that there's maybe an existing issue, but with this proposal there will be an improvement and betterment.
Thank you, Chair. I think that's the phrase that sums this up, an improvement and a betterment. So, yes, happy to move on, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. I had Councillor Mullen, your light had come up there, you're online. I wonder if you can come in and speak on this, or was that just an error? Okay, it's not come back up. Right, okay. Members, we'll move on to decision. So can I get a proposer for this? Councillor Flaherty, straight in.
Yeah, fastest finger first there. Yes, honestly, thank you very much for your report. Thank you for your time, and I'm more than happy to propose this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Flaherty, and Councillor O'Dowd.
Yes, Chair, I'm happy to second.
Thank you. Members, are we all in agreement? Yep, nodding heads. It's a good sign for me. So, proposed by Councillor Flaherty, seconded by Councillor Dowd for approval. Thank you very much, Neil, for coming in with us this evening. And thank you. We will just wait until we get Councillor Moutry back in the room before we move on to our next planning application. And this one, we're taking Appendix 6 and Appendix 7. We're going to take the report and presentations together, but we will need two separate proposals for it. So Appendix 6 is Q 2014-0341F for Graham, and then we have Q 2015-0088DCA, and they're both for approval. I'm going to hand over to Sinead, who is Planning Manager, to present the report and PowerPoint presentation.
Thank you, Chair. Both applications include the demolition of existing sheds adjoining the north-eastern boundary of the former Legan Mill site and redevelopment for the erection of 76 residential units, including associated access and car park. And the reason it's being presented before the Planning and Regulatory Service Committee this evening is it's a major application. It's an application requires the completion of a legal agreement, and it's an application which attracts an objection from a statutory consultee in Water, and is recommended for approval. Officers have taken the members, have read the report in full, and such this is a synopsis only. The site is located within the settlement limit of Dromore and is located within land that is zoned for housing. It has 4 key site requirements in which this development meets. It is noted that one of the key site requirements is for the provision of 12 social housing units, and officers consider that a legal agreement is required to ensure that that number of social housing units is brought forward under this scheme. In addition, a key site requirement is for a new river walk along the River Lagan as per your drawings, and this will link the site from the edge of the scheduled monument to the adjacent site. As regards the design, layout and amenity, this has been fully considered within the report. It is also noted therein that there's a section within the conservation area. In addition, the northern part of the site lies within a local landscape policy area, and the site is also adjacent to an area of townscape character. The proposed development has been fully considered in relation to all these special designations, and the development meets all those policy requirements. As regards to access, traffic and parking, vehicular access to the proposed development will be provided from the Lower Mount Street. The new access location is located further to the west to create and achieve better sight lines into this site, and will also create a two-way traffic to accommodate footpaths on both sides of the street. The car parking requirements for this edge of town centre site is considered acceptable, and DFI Roads, the competent authority in such matters, have raised no objections. As regards to flooding and drainage, the southern portion of this site lies within a floodplain. The flood risk assessment demonstrates the proposed mitigation measures, including a new retaining wall, compensatory flood storage and channel profiling is required to ensure that no increase of flood level will increase in this site. These have all been fully appraised by Rivers agents who have offered no objections. Including within the applications drainage assessment, flood risk assessment, ecological appraisal, flood or a BAT survey, report and appraisal, a transport assessment form and travel plan, and these have all been appraised by the various competent authorities who have offered no objections. To the rear of the site are 15 open storage sheds which are within the conservation area. Q 2015-0088 DCA 6 conservation consent to demolish these sheds. Section 104 of the Act states that where any area is within a conservation area, special regard must be had to the desirability of preserving the character and appearance of that area, or where cases or opportunity for enhancing it arises, this should be brought forward. It is the opinion of officers that these buildings make no material contribution to the character or appearance of the conservation area as set out within your report. The proposal for the demolition and new build development has been considered together, and overall, officers are of the opinion that the proposed development complies with case law, the legislative requirements and policy requirements of the SPPS, Policy BH12, Policy BH14 of PPS 6 and the Dromore Conservation Area Guide. The proposal is not considered to have any adverse impact on the character or setting of this conservation area. The third-party representations have been fully considered through the course of this application, and amendments have been made where required. And having regard to the above, and after undertaking a policy assessment, officers are of the opinion that, subject to the Section 76 legal agreement to secure the provision of social housing units and the condition attached, the proposed development complies with the area plan, the SPPS and all other relevant planning policies. And for that reason, it is recommended that planning permission be granted for Q 2014-0341F, and consent is granted for Q 2015-0088 DCA. I'll take it through the presentation, members. So that's the site located within the general area, so it's just almost to the centre of Dromore Town Centre. Next slide, please. So that shows the site location plan. So the site outlined in red is the application site, with any lands in blue also under the ownership of the applicant. Next slide, please. So there's the site outlined red. As you can see, there's still existing buildings on this site, and it's just the buildings to the north that are in the conservation area. Next slide, please. That shows the area plan. So the site is outlined in brown. The land is zoned for housing. So residential development on land zoned for housing meets with the principle of development. Next slide, please. That shows the Dromore Conservation Area. So you can see just at the access way, a small portion of the site is within the conservation area, and then to the rear of the site, a small portion lies within it also. Next slide, please. That just shows a map within the Dromore Conservation Area showing where the site is in relation to the Martin Bailey. Next slide, please. That shows the extent of the scheduled monument. You will note that these open storage sheds that are sought to be demolished lies outside that scheduled monument area. Next slide, please. That shows a post-site layout plan. So it's reprofiling is going to take place along the River Lagan. As you can see there, the land's going to be set back. There's going to be a new river bank. There's also going to be a new river walkway. And then there's going to be the access way which will provide access to the housing. Next slide, please. That just shows the proposed site overall. The next applications will be for the adjoining site, just to shows how they connect all together. Next slide, please. That just shows an elevation of the proposed apartment. So you can see in the Lower Mount Street there's a feature built in the corner. That's something that's characteristic to Dromore, and then the land rises to the left all up to Lower Mount Street. Then inside there's going to be a new street frontage presented where the apartment elevations will actually make a new street elevation down the new accessway. Next slide, please. That just shows it continuing on. So the variation of heights, just to get some townscape into it. So there's a mixture of slate and cladding. Next slide, please. So that just shows where the proposed apartments are. So they have their own car parking, they have their own cycle stands, and it goes fully enclosed to ensure they're secure. Next slide, please. That just shows some floor plans and elevations of the dwelling. So they're 2.5 storey, which will overlook the River Lagan. Next slide, please. That just is a further contextual elevation which shows it. As you can see, Lower Mount Street climbs quite significantly. So it comes down, and then the new access way is going to be there in the centre. Next slide, please. This is Q 2015-0088 DCA, and as per report, there's 15 buildings there outlined in red, which are due to be demolished, as lies within the conservation area. So conservation area consent is required. Next slide, please. Just to the left-hand side there, that is, that just underneath the trees there, so they're sort of open storage sheds, and we're of the opinion they make no material contribution to this conservation area. Next slide, please. That just shows them they're open-air storage shed, so we're content that they can be demolished. Next slide, please. That just shows it looking back up on the right-hand side there again. You can just see them there. So they're quite small, open storage sheds, but because they're in the conservation area, they require conservation area consent to be removed. That just shows further buildings, but they lie outside the conservation area, but they're also due to be demolished to make way for the new housing to come in. Next slide, please. And that's further buildings to the rear of the site, previously used for offices, and they're also due to be demolished. That just shows the dwellings in Lower Mount Street, so the new dwellings will actually be added on to the side elevation of that property and make for a new entrance into this site. And that just shows a view looking down from Mount Street, so it is quite high, and then that'll be sort of a corner feature building to allow for a new entrance into that site. And next slide, please. That's just sort of on top of the Mott and Bailey looking down, which is a skeleton monument. You can't actually see any part of the development from that part of the site. So that just shows some of the feature buildings within Dromore Conservation Area. So the architect tried to replicate that as a corner feature building, so to take some of the influences from the conservation area for this new build. And that's me. Thank you, members.
Okay, thank you, Sinead, for the presentation and also for the report. Okay, members, over to yourself. Any questions in regards to this application? Councillor Duffy.
Yes, Sinead, thank you for that report. It's a very in-depth report. There will be an asbestos surveys and all that carried out in all them old buildings before they're demolished for all the existing residents around there, just in case, or are they carried out already?
Sinead.
Yes, thank you, Councillor. There is a contamination report which also included not underground but above ground structures. So asbestos would be what we would call a hazardous waste, so they would have to be removed in line with there's a legislative requirement that actually lays outside the planning process. But that is one of the conditions asked for an updated report for that to see what it is, because the application has been in some time, to ensure that when they do remove it, that they do carry it out in line with the legislative requirements and where it is going to, etc., and how they remove it, what type of vehicles, etc., they remove it with. So that all has to be fully considered in line with the final contamination report.
Thank you, Sinead. Councillor Duffy, content? Yeah. No other questions, members? Okay. Members debate then. Any thoughts, concerns? Councillor Duffy?
Yes. Oh, it looks like a fantastic development, so it does, and it's a pity it's not poured down, but you know, fair play to Dromore and great work.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Lavery?
Yeah, I'd sort of agree with Councillor Duffy there. You can sort of see that even moving to like say a residential housing development with a riverside walk-up would better complement the likes of that scheduled monument there in Dromore. So it seems to be an improvement from maybe what's there now. And it's been mentioned, some of those buildings in the conservation area, you know, they don't really add to it, and I would argue you almost take away from it. So maybe you're balancing the ducks here a wee bit with this one. So I think approval is the right outcome in this case, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery. Another lights on. Members, we do have two decisions to make, so we'll take Appendix 6 first. Q 2014-0341F. If I can take that one first and then move on to the next. So do you have any proposals on this? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to propose accordingly. Thank you.
Don't know why it didn't go down to you there. I'll have it back. Councillor Duffy.
Happy to second, Chair.
Okay. Proposed by Councillor Wilson and seconded by Councillor Duffy. Are we all in agreement, members? Agreed. Yeah, agreed. Okay. We'll move on to Appendix 7, Q 2015 0088 DCA. Members, over to yourselves. Councillor Duffy.
Yes, I propose the recommendation, Chair.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to second.
Okay, proposed by Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor Wilson. All in agreement, members? Yep. Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, members, we'll move on to Appendix 8 and 9. We'll take them together as well. And like last time, we will need two separate proposals. Application number Q 2014-0342F for agreements for approval, and application Q 2014-0346 DCA, which is for agreements approved for demolition consent. And again, I'm going to hand over to Sinead McAvoy, Planning Manager, to present the report and PowerPoint presentation.
Thank you, Chair. The proposals collectively involve the demolition of existing buildings, notably the properties of 10, 12, 14 Lower Mount Street and buildings to the rear of 1, 2, 3 and 4 Riverside Terrace, and the redevelopment for a Class A1 retail unit, including associated access and parking. And the reason it's being presented before you this evening is because it actually is associated with the application Q 2014-0341, which you previously had looked at, and an application tracking objection from a statutory consultee in Water, and is recommended for approval. After taking the members have read the report in full and such, this will only be a synopsis. The site is located within the town centre of Dromore on a development opportunity site. Development opportunity sites have been identified to encourage investment within the town centre. These sites could be developed for a single use or for a range of uses, which may include Class A1 shops. As such, the principle of retailing is acceptable on this site. The site has 7 key site requirements. It is noted that one of the key site requirements is for the provision of pedestrian cycle bridge to be provided over the river to link the site to Meeting Street car park, and this is not provided as part of this scheme. Officer receives an economic appraisal from the applicant which sets out the projected cost of delivering these schemes. Projected significant spend on public infrastructure, such as the provision of a riverside walkway and added abnormal construction costs associated with the flood mitigation measures, has added to these costs and made the provision of the bridge economically unviable. The Planning Department appointed a consultant to provide a third-party cost review of the applicant's economic appraisal, who have no reason to dispute the findings of that report. For the reasons set out within your report is the opinion of officers, when balancing the requirement of the bridge against the overall benefits of delivering these proposals, these are deserving of determined weight that outweigh the requirement of the footbridge in this regard. The design, layout and amenity implications of the proposal have all been fully considered within the report, and officers are content to meet with these provisions. As regards to access, traffic and parking, vehicular access to proposed development will be provided jointly to that of the housing zoning adjacent as per the key site requirement. The parking provision of a car park which accommodates 80 spaces, which is actually 24 more than the standard. Cycle stands is also being provided, and provision for servicing within the site. The application also proposes to remove 19 perpendicular car parking arrangement to the front of the buildings at Lower Mount Street, which will provide for enhanced footpath arrangement and safeguard against vehicles reversing out onto the road. 9 new parallel car parking spaces will be provided. To the front of the building, Roads and Competent Authority and such matters have raised no objection. As regards to flooding and drainage, the southern portion of the site also lies within the floodplain. The flood risk assessment demonstrates the post mitigation measures, including the new retaining wall, compensated flood storage and channel prooflining, will not increase flood risk at this location, and these have all been fully appraised by Rivers agents who have offered no objection. A new river walkway is also proposed as per the key site requirements, which will link into the adjacent housing site. As regards to all other material considerations, the application has been accompanied by a contamination assessment and remediation strategy, an archaeological impact assessment, a transport assessment, flood risk assessment, service management plan, travel plan, drainage assessment, bat survey and assessment, and these have all been fully appraised by the various competent authorities who have offered no objections. The properties at 2 to 4 Lower Mount Street and 1 to 5 Riverside Terrace to the east and the number of outbuildings to the rear are within the conservation area. Q 2014-0346 DCA 6 conservation consent for the demolition of these buildings. Section 104 of the Act states that where any area is for the time been designated as a conservation area, special regard must be had to the desirability of preserving the character or appearance of that area in cases where an opportunity for enhancing its character does not arise, or enhancing the character or appearance of the area in case of the opportunity does arise. It is also the opinion of officers that these buildings make no material contribution to the character or appearance of the area for the reasons set out in your report. The proposals for the demolition and the proposed new build development has been considered collectively. Officers are of the opinion that proposed development complies with case law, legislative requirements and policy requirements of the SPPS, BH12, BH14 of PPS 6 and the Drummoor Conservation Area Guide. The proposal is not considered to have an adverse impact on the character or setting or appearance of this conservation area. The third-party representations have been fully considered through the course of the application, and amendments have been made where required. And having regard to the above, and after undertaking a policy assessment and plan and balancing exercise, officers are of the opinion that planning permission should be granted for Q 2014-0342 and consent granted for Q 2014-0346F as for the reasons set out in your report. Taking you through the presentation now, members. And again, the site is located immediately adjacent to the site that was before you in the previous presentation. Next slide, please. So you can see the site is outlined in red, and to the north then there's an area of car parking, new layout to be provided. Next slide, please. And again, as per the site adjacent, there are buildings in this site which are due to be demolished to allow for the new build to take place. Next slide, please. That just shows the area plan shown, so it's outlined in blue. So as per your report, this is actually a development opportunity site. So a site that is required to be developed to try to encourage investment into Drummoor Town Centre. Next slide, please. And again, that just shows the Drummoor Conservation Area where the site lies wholly within. Next slide, please. And that just shows a map within the Drummoor Conservation Area, and it's outlined within your report. Even the Conservation Area dated 1992 saw this as a development opportunity site. Next slide, please. So that just shows the proposed site layout. So the retail development is going to be the front to provide a new site frontage, and then the car parking to the rear. Next slide, please. So that again shows proposed overall site layout. So the two of these sites have been looked at collectively because they both join into each other to ensure that each have the riverside walkway and that connectivity does arise. Next slide, please. So again, the proposed retail unit elevations, great care was taken to ensure they're designed almost like 4 traditional shop fronts, timber windows, traditional shop frontage and slate, etc., rather than one big modern type. So it was just to respect the Drummoor Conservation Area. Next slide, please. That just shows a floor plan. So it's a standard floor plan for a Class A1 retail unit with your servicing, etc., to the back. Next slide, please. So that shows a new access layout. As you can see, the building which was on the site will be demolished, and the new building will be set back slightly to allow for an extended footpath arrangement, and then allow for parallel parking to go in there rather than the perpendicular that was there before. Next slide, please. Again, that's contextual elevations, which shows the site going down for the residential to the left, and then to the right is your new traditional shop front with the access through the centre. Next slide, please. That just shows a schedule of demolition buildings that have to be demolished under the conservation area consent. Next slide, please. Again, as per the report, we would be of the opinion that these buildings don't make any material contribution to the Drummoor Conservation Area. Next slide, please. So that is the area to this riverside, so they extend down into it. That is going to be roughly where the new access location is going to be. So the plan did even envisage those to be removed to allow for this new access to go in there. Next slide, please. That just shows a close-up of it again. We are be of the opinion they make no material contribution to this conservation area. Next slide, please. And those are the properties to the rear that also be demolished as part of this scheme. Next slide, please. And those are further just looking beyond the site, looking up towards the new entrance will be roughly where those buildings are in front of you. Next slide, please. That just shows one of the buildings to the rear is also due to be demolished. That just shows from the edge of the town centre looking towards it. So it is a key site in relation to providing a much needed uplift to the Dromore centre and Dromore conservation area. I think that's me. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Sinead, for the report and presentation. Members, over yourselves, any questions? Councillor Duffy.
Yes, Chair. Just the 116 picture. There's nobody living in them houses, is there? There seems to be satellite dishes outside 1, 2, 3 and 4 Riverside Terrace.
Sinead, are you happy to come in?
Yeah, well, the last time I was out on the site, there used to be a couple of them. They seem to be converted into apartments, actually, where there was updated. So some of them are actually being are occupied at the present time when I was out on site there just before Christmas. Yes.
That just wouldn't have nothing to do with planning permission or anything. Like, I just don't want to make anybody homeless by knocking down their houses or anything, or giving permission that it happens, and that hopefully the people are all in agreement with the works that's going to be taking place.
Yeah. Just on that then, Sinead, what is the sort of arrangement there for that?
Yeah, I suppose, Chair, what Councillor Duffy sort of alluded to, it does sit outside the planning process, but I know that the applicants there are, the landlord is Graham, who's the applicant here, and also who is the applicant for the current residential site right adjacent to this. So we may understand, I'm sure there'll be some agreement to come as regards to, you know, to where they're occupied, but they would be of an understanding, they would know that these are to be demolished. They actually even got the neighbour notification letters, etc. There were no objection from those particular applicants.
Okay, thank you, Sinead. Members, any other questions? Okay, we'll move to the debate stage then. Over yourselves, members. Any thoughts? All very quiet. I don't know. Is there sweets being passed around down there? And there is, and they haven't made their way up here yet. So, very wished we've got our own packet. Okay, members, we'll move to decision. Do we have any proposals? We'll take Appendix 8 first. So we'll take Appendix 8, which is Q 2014-0342F. Councillor Dowd.
Yes, I'm happy to propose, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor O'Dowd. And do we have a seconder? Councillor Flaherty is seconded. Okay, members, proposed by Councillor O'Dowd and seconded by Councillor Flaherty. Are we all in agreement? Yep. Thank you. Appendix 9, well, Q 2014-0346 DCA. Do we have a proposer or seconder for it? Councillor O'Dowd.
Happy to propose, Chair.
Do we have a seconder then? Councillor Flaherty in again. Members, are we all in agreement? Okay, happy days. Thank you very much, Sinead, for taking us through both of those. Sorry, all four of them. Sorry, my mind. Members, we'll go back now to Appendix 4 and Appendix 5. We will take these together, but we will need to seek two separate proposals. So application number LA08 2024-0831F and LA08 2024-0832 LBC. So I'm going to hand over to Roisin, who's going to take us through this.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, both of these applications relate to the same application site. The first application is a full application for the extension and alterations to a dwelling at number 16 Dobbin Street, Armagh, including demolition of additions with revised vehicular access arrangements. And the second application is listed building consent for the same proposal. These applications are being presented to committee as the proposal involves new access arrangements involving council-owned land, and if members are content, the same presentation will cover both applications. Number 16 Dobbin Street is a two-storey mid-terrace dwelling which is B1 listed property. The proposal involves the demolition of a link between the original dwelling and a rear building block and the erection of a new two-storey link between the two. A box dormer is proposed at attic level and a small decking area to the rear. Officers are content that the size, scale and massing of the proposed extension is acceptable in that it respects and is subordinate to the host dwelling and the scale of the adjoining properties. The design and materials of the proposed extension complement the existing dwelling and do not detract from the appearance and character of the surrounding area. The impacts of the proposed extension on the amenity of adjacent residential properties has been considered in terms of overlooking and privacy, dominance, loss of daylight, sunlight and noise. The proposals have also been assessed against PPS 6 in terms of the impact on the conservation area, and others are of the view the proposal complies with BH 12 and will enhance the character and appearance of the conservation area as set out in the report. As the building is a listed building, the proposal has also been assessed against BH 8 of PPS 6, and as set out in more detail in the report, officers in consultation with HED are satisfied the proposal will not have any detrimental impact on the essential character of the listed building and its setting. The application proposes a revised vehicular access arrangement to the rear of the property onto Ferry Road car park and includes the removal of existing raised curbing and 2 bollards to allow for straight access into the property. Officers in consultation with DFI Roads are content the proposal will not prejudice road safety or inconvenience the flow of traffic, and officers consider the proposal complies with the SPPS and all other relevant plan policies and are recommending that both applications be approved subject to the conditions set out in the report. I'll just take you through the slides. So that gives you details of our proposal, and the red arrow gives you an idea of where we are within the Armagh area. This is an aerial view of the site with our application site outlined in red backing onto the Ferry Road car park there. So the site is within the Armagh conservation area. You can see where the red arrow is, and the pink area is the extent of the conservation area, so it's on the edge of the conservation area. And this is just the site location map. So this gives you an idea of this existing and proposed site layout. So on the left-hand side, you can see there is an interlinking block between the block that fronts onto Dobbin Street and the block that fronts onto the Ferry Road car park, which has a pitched roof. And on the right, you can see that has been demolished and replaced with a flat roofed extension and an attic window. So these are the proposed elevations. So on the top, you have top left, you have the proposed elevation onto Dobbin Street, and to the right, you have the proposed elevation onto the car park. And these are the floor plans. So it's probably a bit difficult to see, but it just gives it additional living kitchen space and bedroom. And these are sections through the site, and again, you can see the flat roofed extension, which is between the two existing blocks. And this is just demonstrating that the site's blaze can be achieved from the access from the rear of the property. So these are photographs of the site. This is the front, the older block which fronts onto Dobbin Street. And this is to the rear of the property which fronts onto Ferry Road car park, and the extension link will be between the two, so it's to the rear of this block. And that's just the access, and you can see 2 parking spaces are provided to the back of the property. And this is where the new parking arrangements are to be, so that raised curbing and bollards are to be removed so that there's straight access into the back of the property. At the minute, you kind of have to swerve in round past the curbing and turn left to get into the property. And that concludes the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Roisin, for the report and presentation. Members, any questions? Okay, move to debate then. Any thoughts? No. Okay, we have 2 applications here, so we need 2 separate proposals. So we'll take Appendix 4, LA 08 2024 0831F. Councillor Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to propose the recommendation.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Donnelly, and I'll second that. So I will. Members, are we all in agreement? Agreed. Okay, Appendix 5, LA 08 2024 0832 LBC. Do we have any proposals on that, members? Councillor Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to propose again.
Thank you, Councillor Donnelly and Councillor Mullen. Do you want to take off mute there, Councillor Mullen? Still on mute. Give me a thumbs up if you're seconding. No. Yeah. We'll take that as a second, and Mike Gravy's going to fall out over that one. Yeah, so proposed Councillor Donnelly, second by Councillor Mullen. All in agreement? Yeah? Okay. I'm just going to check. Have I missed any applications out? Okay, I've got them all. Members, thank you very much. I want to thank our planning team and our building control team, IT officers, member services, legal advice, and I think that's everybody. Have a very happy Easter. Hopefully you eat lots of chocolate eggs, because I'll not see you until then, so enjoy.